Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to another word of encouragement. This is part 3, Thoughts About Elders, as we consider our next process of adding elders, shepherds here at the Belton Church of Christ. So let me talk to you today about shepherds. Shepherds. A shepherd was a person responsible for the care and well-being of others. A shepherd had the responsibility to protect and to provide for others. It was the shepherd in the field that, when he saw hurting or wounded sheep, tended to them. For those animals doing just fine, the shepherd fed and watered them and made sure they were protected from the elements. The shepherd also looked for the stragglers, the wayward sheep, providing them with just enough impetus to keep them in the flock. In fact, the shepherd went out of his way to bring the sheep back to the fold, as we see in the parable of the lost sheep. Again, the Bible tells us that shepherds are to keep watch over the flock, to be shepherds of the church, to watch for wolves, to be shepherds of God's flock. Let me give you several quotes by Dr. Lynn Anderson from his book, They Smell Like Sheep. He says, God has designed a model for leadership revealed through Scripture, embodied by Jesus Christ, and passed on to spiritual leaders of all time. That model is the shepherd. Dr. Anderson says, the one metaphor that best describes a leader in the local congregation is that of shepherd. The shepherd metaphor shows up more than 500 times in Scripture across both the Old Testament and New Testament. Without question, the dominant biblical model for spiritual leadership is the shepherd and the flock. So if we want to understand the biblical model of leadership, we must embrace the concept of shepherd. Maybe that's why Jesus is referred to as the Good Shepherd in the Gospel of John. Dr. Anderson writes, Jesus left the comforts of heaven and came into our universe, our pasture, to smell like sheep. Interesting. What do shepherds do? Well, here's what shepherds did back in Bible times. They would touch the sheep. They would handle the sheep. They would tend to the sheep. They would feed and water and protect the sheep. They would smell like sheep because they were constantly with the sheep. Shepherds lived in the pasture with their flock. They were as much a part of the land as the sheep were. They had a relationship with the sheep, so much so that the sheep recognized the voice of the shepherd. We read in John 10 and verse 3, the shepherd calls his sheep by name. He knows the flock. He's with the flock. He's familiar with the flock. Shepherds don't drive sheep. Shepherds lead sheep. It's not about power over the flock. It's about protection of the flock. Again, Lynn Anderson writes, how do you get sheep smell on you when you don't handle sheep? So when you think about the person or the people that you want to nominate as elders or shepherds, you look at people who already have a flock. The process of selecting more elders is simply the process of acknowledging those who are already shepherding. I like what Lynn Anderson says, good sheep sniff out good shepherds. One more thought. If you have a desire to be an elder, if you're thinking about being an elder one day, a shepherd one day, get out and live among the sheep. Spend time with the sheep. Smell like sheep. Everyone has an odor, everyone has an aroma, and shepherds smell like sheep. Part 3, Thoughts About Elders. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.